Hey, it's me, the unpopular Patriot here. So, if you haven't been aware of the news lately, they're saying that Trump is still winking and nodding towards white nationalists in light of the El Paso shooting. And even though he outrightly condemned all forms of bigotry and racism and included white nationalism, the left-wing mainstream media, 2020 Dem candidates have all said that his condemnation was disingenuous, and he in fact is still a racist who wants to exterminate Latinos. Like, this is all the sorts of crazy stuff. I'm not here to talk to you about trying to convince a very brainwashed person who is listening heavily on MSNBC or CNN to try to convince them that Trump is not a racist, that this is all slander, it's election time, it's all about just getting votes, getting people frightened. I want to talk to patriots about reframing your language. And so this is part of my, I guess, patriot uh, training for dealing with a liberal. I'm not talking about a leftist. So I just want to make sure we're very clear about this. This is training grounds for if you have to deal with a liberal. Now, a leftist is just a full-on identitarian Marxist. Like, they're so far gone, like there's nothing that you can do or say to convince them that Trump is nothing but then the devil incarnate. So, like, don't waste your time trying to talk. But if you're talking to a swing person, you're talking about on the fence, you're talking about someone who's like normal and rational, right? Like, this is some practical advice for what you need to deal with them. First and foremost, if they're black, stop telling them to get off the plantation. Like, stop it, please. Like, you didn't become a patriot because somebody insulted you and demeaned you for your beliefs, right? So that's first and foremost, to stop doing that. Second of all, don't defend bad behavior. If Trump said something wackadoodle-doo crazy and you agree that it was a little off color or just inappropriate, say, hey, look, I understand how this could be reviewed negative. Because a lot of times people who are like moderate and a swing, they see that Trump supporters will just defend everything that Trump says, right? We have to be able to look at things from a very rational, very even-keeled balance. So if you see, and I know Trump will tweet out something crazy, it's just a matter of time. And if you feel that it's crazy, don't defend it. Just call it out for what it is. Because here's the thing. If we're supposed to be true patriots, we're putting principles over people. And we call a spade, and that's it. So don't get into trying to defend bad behavior. Also, you need to make sure that you're armed to the teeth with information, like real information. Now, I know that a lot of these people will quote CNN and MSNBC and all this other stuff, and like, you can't control that, like, whatever. But you have cold hard statistics. For example, you know that the statistics of crime in urban areas are typically in Democratic strongholds. Like, you know for a fact that as a result of the introduction of LBJ's welfare state, people within the black community have suffered. Like, arm yourself with data from the Brookings Institute, from the Census Bureau, like from every which way. Because look, if they're actually starting to understand that it's all smoke and mirrors from the Dem, from their co-conspirator of the press and their military arms of Antifa, like, at least you have some information to back you up. This is only if they're actually wanting to like listen more and hear about what you have to say. Also, stop telling people about this booming economy. Stop talking about the stock market. Because look, for the most part, let's be real with you. Most people have been underemployed and bad jobs for a really, really long time. And they don't see like great changes in their portfolio. They're not working at their great job for the most part, right? They're just like in a low level like job, just trying to pay their bills and get by. And let's be honest, a lot of people who have benefited from the stock market are not you and me. Let's be honest with the stock buybacks. with some of the tax cuts, like that's not your average day, everyday Joe who is just writing off expenses. Not their income is coming from their wealth, residual wealth, and not from their salaries. Like, let's be honest about that. Because I think that a lot of times, like, people, especially like swing voters, like they're living in like they call it the flyover states, or like areas where that's not in densely urban areas. Like, they're not living that way. The better strategy is just to address the issues head on. Like, don't ignore the fact that the economy for your average day Joe is not good. Let's talk about ways that they can make their own economic prosperity in their own region, in the whole localities. A lot of reasons why people just don't want to talk with the Republicans, and so they're so busy talking about these generic talking points about how the economy's doing great, but not for the average day, everyday Joe, right? In the rural farm areas, or and sometimes in the urban areas. Like, we need to start revamping the PR campaign and talk about what are we going to do to stop the crony capitalism? What are we going to do to give incentives for legitimate people who want to build their own businesses, get out of their crummy jobs, be able to take the care of their kids so their wife doesn't have to work 12 hours a day while the kids at daycare? Like, what are we going to do to talk about those issues? Like, we need to reframe and pivot from those tired, stodgy talking points, because ain't nobody want to hear it anymore. So we need to revamp that strategy. The other thing that we need to do is we need to start explaining the values of free market capitalism. A lot of people just don't understand what free market capitalism anymore. They've been seeing like corruption on, and I say both sides, left and right. Let's keep it 100. Corruption is going left and right. And I want to talk really quickly about the border situation, because I don't know what other channels you're listening to, but I'm going to be flat out. The reason why the borders are so porous is a result of Democrat and Republican policies, right? The Democrats, they want a secure voting base, so that's why they want the legals. The Republicans love cheap and easily accessible labor, that's why they want them in there. So they both have benefited from it. And it's unfortunate. It's super, super unfortunate. And we have failed as a culture for putting profits over the destruction of wages. It's a sad thing, and I fear like with the advent of automation, it's just only going to accelerate and get worse. Now, some people will say, libertarians, free marketers, conservatives will come at me and say, well, you know what? Who cares? Like, for every old job that's outdated, a new job would be created for automation. But not everybody. There's no training plan for everybody to learn how to operate robots. Let's be real about that, because it's not being spoken about it, but I will. Because look, I always support true liberty, true freedom, but it also comes with knowledge. We need to do a better job of educating and informing the people, because it's just not happening. Like, I'm not looking to any leader. And that brings me to the last point I want to say is stop looking to the GOP, stop looking towards some civic leader to make the change. You need to make the own changes on your own. You need to have your own boots on the ground, start talking with people in your community, start creating up crews, start attending your local board meetings. Like, start getting involved and start saying your voice, because a lot of times we just sit there and we let other people take charge, and you see what happens, right? It's just not right. It's not practical for us to just sit by the sidelines, because there's a lot of scary things happen. We have like reached a civil war, as it is, where people have been divided, nobody's thinking straight, and no one's advocating for the rights. You hear a lot of talking points from the politicians, from the press, but they're only doing it for their own self-motivated interests. And I say left and the right. Let me give you a quick example. I was on the Laura Ingraham radio show like a couple of days. I had my 15-second of fame. The question they asked me was, what do you think causes shootings, right? And I rattled off the reasons. I said, hey, I think first and foremost is the degradation of culture, is the glorification of gun violence, which is accelerated by the media and politicians for clickbait. I said it was faulty and lacks gun registration, and there's no enforcement with mental health. And I just also said like something about politicians like AOC ratcheting up the rhetoric against conservatives, and I was so disappointed. Like Laura Ingraham, she said the last part about the AOC and the squad, and she just ran off of it, talking about no one wants progressive ideology, nobody's interested in all that stuff. And like, I was like, what the hell? You just took my concern about the shooting and you just springboarded it for your disdain for the AOC and the progressive and the squad. Like, you missed the entire point. And I realized, like, you can't rely on mainstream conservative media. Like, you can't. Like, people like me, people like you, like, are starting our own information services because they have their own self-motivated interests. And it's not for you and me. Well, that's it. Thanks for listening. Please like, share. Tell me what you think? What can we do to improve our PR campaign? Because what's happening right now is terrible right now. We're being divided. And I just want for all of us just to be able to have calm, rational conversations. It don't matter if you're liberal, it doesn't matter if you're conservative, like libertarian, like whatever. We all need to come and sit down and talk about these issues. Because look, my one last point, I'll let you go, is that we need a healthy system, at least two-party. Like, they're both corrupt. Like, if you ask me, Republicans, Democrats are both corrupt. That's why I'm libertarian. But the reason why we need at least two, ideally three or more. I wish the libertarians would really have a stronghold. I think more people would vote libertarian. Is I feel like, or just another major group, like, because here's the thing, like, we need other checks and balances. We need to have one group can hold another group accountable, like, because right now we just got this strange, weird mess where the only one who's really controlling, like, the government, the media, like the economic system, is the economic elite, and they play us all like fiddles on the left and right. You're thinking you're voting team blue, team red, like you're voting for like team like Berkshire Hathaway, team like Rothschild, like that's who we're really voting for. And then we're all being played like fools. Well, anyway, thanks for letting me share. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, bye-bye.